Hi everyone, I hope that you can see and hear me okay. Please let me know in the Q&A function if you cannot, and we will get it rectified. But you're very welcome to this week's episode of Discover Your Future at DCU. This week, as you know, we are here to discuss the Business Studies degree and the Marketing, Innovation and Technology degree at DCU, which are both from the DCU Business School. And they're really popular courses, always in high demand every year, which is why we're delighted to be able to provide you with a live session here today where you have the opportunity to ask questions to lecturers and students alike who are studying these programs. So if you are new to the webinar series, you're very welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. You'll notice at the bottom of your screen that there is a Q&A function. If you have any questions at all throughout our discussion today, please feel free to pop them in the box. And at the end of the session, with maybe about 10 minutes to spare, so about 20 past 5, we'll take a look at the Q&A box to see what's there, and our wonderful panelists will be able to answer for you. Just in the last couple of moments, we have received news that our academic from Marketing, Innovation and Technology, Dr. Peter Robbins, unfortunately won't be able to make the session today, but don't fret, we have a final year marketing student, Thomas, who is going to be able to talk to you about the structure of the course. So if you do have any questions that are particularly academic, that Thomas won't be able to answer, and we will be able to follow up with Peter in due course. Just something came up today and he wasn't able to make it. But I will introduce the rest of the panelists for you and we can get on with the discussion. So from the Business Studies degree, I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Robert Galanders, who lectures in Economics in DCU and is the Programme Chair of Business Studies. So Rob, I hope that works for you. You should be on your way in now. And as a current student who has been studying in DCU for about 4 years now, into her final year, is Cindy Byrice from the Business Studies degree as well. You're very welcome. That seemed to work okay. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we have Thomas Bird, who is a final year Marketing, Innovation and Technology, or MINT student, as we'll probably refer to it during this webinar. I think that has worked successfully. Hi, everyone. Can you access the microphones and everything okay?
Hi, evening, everybody.
Hi, works for me.
Brilliant. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. It's a busy time of year for everyone, so we're very grateful that you've made the time in your diary to speak. You can see there's a lot of attendees there. I'd say most people have MINT or business on their CAO, and in our school visits that we would do in our office, we get a lot of people wondering, should I do business? Should I do MINT? So we're not going to turn this into like a debate, but it'll be good to explain to people maybe what those differences might be. So maybe we'll start with Business Studies. Rob, would you like to go ahead and explain what the course is all about?
Sure. So as I said, evening, everybody. Nice to see you all virtually. Hopefully it's a precursor to seeing you all in person in our lecture halls come, was it September, in October, next time we start it all again. So yeah, I'm the chair of the Business Studies degree and I'm an associate professor of economics. So I can answer any questions about economics to a high degree and have a general sense of what goes on in our Business Studies degree, which is a degree we're quite proud of, and is a degree that's gone through quite a lot of changes over the last couple of years. Even through COVID, we've continued to try and push forward our curriculum to bring in some kind of more transversal skills. But at its core, our Business Studies degree is a broad-based degree that allows for a high degree of specialization in final year. So, you know, in first year, you take kind of introductory classes in economics and in accounting and psych and HRM. Accounting as well as the beginnings of our what we call our spines, or our kind of pillars of critical thinking skills and entrepreneurship skills. And our entrepreneurship modules in particular are very good. It's a shame Peter isn't able to join us today, because Peter teaches into those across the programs. And our life, which is learning, innovation, and something with an F and something with an E, has won all kinds of awards in recent years for being a really, really excellent course. And the thing I teach on the first year is critical thinking, and that's not too bad either. And it's basically, I hope there's no school teachers here, but it's to deprogram you from the Leaving Cert, because university is not just about memorization, it's about having a deeper understanding of the material. And that's what our critical thinking classes in first and second year are meant to do. And also we have significantly revamped our, I guess what nowadays gets called data analytics, statistics and econometrics offerings right from first year through to second year, building up to our new DCU Futures specialism in data analytics, which will be available to all of you by the time you get to final year. So that's a long answer to a simple question. I don't know if you want to stop me there or I keep rambling.
Yeah, and I did the business studies course myself as well. So I'm a kind of recent graduate. And what I loved about the course is that it's really broad. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in sixth year. And I thought, well, business is fantastic. And as you mentioned, Rob, you get to specialize in final year. So you spend year 1 and 2 building like the bricks, and then you get to, you know, do everything else then from final year. But integrated training is a huge part of DCU Business School, to be honest, but particularly the business studies course. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Intra is important for a bunch of reasons. One is that it helps set you apart from, you know, degrees pretty common in Ireland these days. 3-year degrees generally not as powerful as a 4-year degree. And Intra gives you that year of work experience, real paid work experience that you can then make use of in at least 3 ways, right? The first way is that a lot of our students finish their degree with an offer of a job in their pocket. Not all of them, but a lot of them end up with an offer from the place that they did their internship, which is pretty valuable thing to have when you're in the throes of final year and you're sweating about passing your exams. At least you have an offer there you can take or not take as you see fit. So that's one way. Another way is I remember I used to go out and visit, before I became the program chair, I used to go out and visit students on their inter-placements and used to ask the same question, you know, are you glad you did this, or has been any value to you? And the best answer, and I got this a few times of very similar ones, was a lad said to me, yeah, I'm really happy I did this. I said, why? He said, because now I know I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And that's, you're 21, that's about the last time you can cheaply change your career trajectory. So what that lad did is he realized he didn't want to be in finance or accounting. And what he was really interested in was marketing, which he specialized in instead. So the Intra experience helped him to select his specialism in a more thought out and reasoned way. And that's the final thing that Intra does. It sets you up very well for knowing what kind of skills you'll need in your career that you're choosing, or indeed that you don't need to pick up a basket of skills for a career you're definitely not going to choose. And then you can go on and do final year. But there's another thing that you can do in third year instead of Intra, and it's become increasingly popular, which is our Erasmus option. So this gives you the opportunity to go off and study in one of our partner universities, most of which are in Europe, but we've a couple in North America. And indeed in Korea, South Korea as well. And you go for a year and you're an exchange student and you take a basket of modules, classes, and we're not overly prescriptive about what they are. It's more about the experience of learning somewhere else from other people and broadening horizons that way than taking any particular fixed course of study. And we tend to find that also helps students know what they want to do when they come back to us for final year. And yes, that's there's a bit of a COVID effect, I suspect, in that, you know, when I took over as program chair, we had 7 students who went off to do Erasmus every year. It's 40. Wow. It's 40 this year, and it's become very, very popular. And I can totally understand why. And then, final year after that, we have a bunch of specialisms: economics, finance, HRM, marketing, data analytics will be the new one, and they give you a good. It's almost like majoring, but not quite like majoring in the American system. In that you take a kind of tight concentration in your kind of chosen area of specialism, and they set you up very well to go on and do a master's degree if that's what you want to do in any of those academic disciplines. And they also give you the skills needed to kind of be a practitioner of those things if that's the end of your educational journey for now, at least.
Yeah, I think the business school, with the opportunity to travel, the opportunity to do Intra, it really lends to what you said earlier, Rob, about breaking away from the leaving cert, which is, this is what I think this is like, but it actually teaches you from the ground up. And you don't need to do business as an entry requirement for this course, which people are maybe surprised at, but really the business course for leaving cert is just worlds apart from the world of business, really.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the other reforms we made recently. About 3 years ago, we put in a kind of a business 101 element for the degree. It was never a prerequisite to have taken business or economics or accounting or whatever in your leaving cert to do the business studies degree. But we realized that maybe some people might be a bit daunted by the terminology. So then there's a quick kind of short sequence of Business 101 at the very start of first year. And the only real entry requirements are the ones that the university has. And then I wrote them down here because I forget otherwise. You need an O4 or a H6 in maths on top of that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks. And I see a question come in, Rob, so I might as well ask you while we have you. Mid-flow, how many hours of lectures per week? Now, I know this can change year to year, but generally speaking, even for first years?
Yeah, about 24 of lectures, I would guess, possibly some more tutorials. But it is very important to realize that university is a full-time commitment, right? That it is set up that it should be the kind of thing that's taken it's like a full-time job, right? Now, myself, I had to work part-time when I was a student, and I understand that the situation is, let's just say, not improved since then. So people do have to work, but it's important to go into it with a clear understanding of the expectation. It is a full-time commitment, and you should expect to, have 9 to 5, Mondays to Fridays available for things to do on the campus.
Yeah, and I think as well with business in particular, I know when I was interviewing for Intra, and there's another question about that now, it wasn't just about my transcript and my exam results. It was, I saw you did this cool thing with the club and society. And I think for business, that's really important, no matter what area you want to go into, show that you've worked on a team or that you've been involved in a project, or you've other skills that aren't just, say, exam based. It's not in that way.
That runs through our entrepreneurship stuff in particular. That by final year, we have this new enterprise development module, which brings together a lot of the stuff that you've picked up both academically and kind of in what they call transversal skills or kind of transferable skills, and you have to kind of design and pitch a kind of a hypothetical business, and it's quite a cool module, and it's very popular with the students. And you're right, things like hackathons and kind of focus on the sustainable development goals that we have our first and second years to stand in very good stead, both in terms of getting internships, their own kind of personal development, and broader professional development as well, because that's the way the world is going.
Exactly. So that's a really cool module, new enterprise development. So Cindy, are you involved in that now because you're in final year?
No, not really.
No, you're not doing that. What is a cool module?
In HR and is the connection all right? Because
yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not in any special clubs or SOCs. I am part of, for example, archery SOC, just to take my mind off things, a bit of sport on the side, but apart from that, I'm not into any other.
That's all right. That's all right. You're busy enough in final year, plenty to keep you occupied. So did you say you're specializing in human resource management? Brilliant. How are you finding that?
Oh, that's brilliant. It's very interesting. Funnily enough, I wasn't aware of the specialization at first in the business studies, as I'm a transfer from global business. I'm German myself. I'm doing the final year in business studies now, and I wasn't aware of the specializations. But when I was looking through the modules, that I found the HR modules to be the most interesting. So I chose them, and then accidentally I checked after, and then those were the specialization HR modules, and turns out that I have the most interest in the HR modules, and it's very interesting. You can learn a lot, and they're very like focusing on group work, so it's great to like talk with the other students and get to know them and their points of views, and it's actually quite fun.
You predicted my next question, Cindy. I was going to ask, is there a lot of group work, or is it mostly doing stuff for yourself? So you've already got in there ahead of me, which is great. Anything in particular that you like about the DCU Business School that you maybe didn't know about it before you came?
As I started my course in DCU and then went back to Germany for my other degree, DCU is very good at communication. Just for newcomers, DCU does a good job at informing students of how things are going to go, and news, just like updates and everything, because in comparison, the other university I went to, they were not very good at that, shall we say.
Yeah, I think that's that's a DCU culture thing as well, is that our lecturers, we address our lecturers by their first names, and there's not this scary barrier between someone who might be a doctor or a professor and you're worrying if you're going to address them incorrectly. There's a very open communication between everyone, which I think everyone appreciates at the university. So for any sixth years, if you're concerned about transferring from sixth year, top of the food chain, back into being a first year again, starting all over, there's a new environment, new people, DCU has you really well looked after. We've got a whole student support and development service who are there to assist you in your journey. So as much as these webinars are about courses and the academic side, there is a whole student life and student well-being aspect to DCU that is just as valued. I mean, if you're not healthy yourself, it's going to be hard to have a healthy academic performance. So thank you for our business studies speakers. It was a really comprehensive overview of what goes on. So we might turn to Thomas now, who is the one-man team here about Mint today. But Thomas, you're well versed in the area. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Mint and maybe how you chose to do it in DCU?
Yeah, so Mint is marketing, innovation, and technology. So you have your 3 strands. It's actually a Bachelor of Science as well, which makes it stand out a bit when applying for jobs and stuff. But reason I chose Mint was, as in my Leaving Cert, I knew I enjoyed business, but I wasn't great with like finance. But I really enjoyed engineering and technology and drawing as well. So they were all kind of things that kind of linked in with the innovation and creativity side of Mint that makes it stand out. So you have your 3 strands of marketing, innovation, and technology, and they're all kind of balanced equally. Unlike business, you don't specialize at the end. You're doing the 3 kind of strands throughout, and there's lots of different modules that you touch on throughout your 4 years as well.
Brilliant. And you had the opportunity to do an internship as well. And I've spoken to Thomas about this before. His internship was really cool. So let the people know what you were up to.
Yeah, so I was with Audi Ireland, and I still am with them. So the most premium car brand in the country for the last 13 years. So it was really interesting. I'm with their marketing department, and I started there in June of 2020 and stayed with them right up until August of 2021. Yeah, I'm trying to get my dates right there. But they have Volkswagen Group have a brilliant partnership with DCU, and they take on up to 14 interns every single year. So I was with their marketing department, and I was involved in some really big product launches of brand new electric cars. Got to drive some really interesting cars as well, some fast cars as well. Different product launches, events, meeting journalists, working with agencies, TV campaigns, everything underneath marketing was kind of covered within that Intra placement. And there was no better experience whenever, I know Robert touched on it earlier, that whenever you're walking out of DCU, you're walking out with a whole year's worth of experience there, which very few other colleges can offer you. And you're sitting there in your interview, and you have so much to talk about because you've been doing so much in that year, which many students don't have whenever they're leaving college. So it's a great advantage to have.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Thomas. And do you have any plans? The dreaded question for final year. I know it's horrible to ask, but what would you like to go into, do you think, when you leave DCU?
I think from my Intra placement, I definitely found that marketing, I really enjoyed it. That was kind of the section of my degree that I really enjoy, and it's very hands-on, and every day is different. And I think that's what really attracted me to it, is you get to put your own spin and your own creativity on it. So I'm joining the Lidl marketing graduate program in September. So that's something I'm got, and it was great to be able to use, like in the interview, I was chatting about Intra, I was chatting about DCU, I was chatting about clubs and societies, and you have so much, if you use your 4 years in DCU, you have so much to chat about that you'll probably never stop chatting about it. But yeah.
That's a symptom of going to DCU. You just will always talk about it. I firmly believe that. I'm still doing it now. And just to go back for a second, Thomas, about the internships, be it in business or Mint, some people, I think, would imagine an internship, oh, you're just making coffee and you're printing paper and maybe what you see in the films. It's absolutely not that. The DCU Business School have such a strong relationship with all of the companies that we're linked up with. So if anything, you're worked hard in your internship to really make it worth your while, as opposed to just printing and making coffee, as I said. So that should be reassuring for students. Thomas, you might not know the answer to this. Does Mint offer an Erasmus? It's a question that's come in. Yeah,
you can do Erasmus through Mint as well. I know 90% of students probably in Mint do the Intra, but it is an option to do Erasmus as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And there's another question come in, and don't be afraid, anyone else who'd like to ask a question, we're coming towards the end of the session, so please do add in a question if you like. Rob, you might be able to answer, is Intra focused on one sector, or do you get to experience different aspects?
We don't have sectoral intras. There's a huge list of positions that's kind of curated by the Intra office. And it's also worth giving credit to the Intra office, who managed to find a placement for everybody, even in time of COVID. It's remarkable work that they do. And there's a system. Companies advertise jobs like CAO. You list which ones you want to you might be interested in, and if you interview and get offered a job, you have to take your first preference, as it were, I think is how it works. So no, you go into a particular job, but I think, and Thomas might be able to correct me, I think in a lot of internships, but not all of them, people tend to move around a little bit within the company, particularly if it's given it's kind of a year-long experience. I don't know if Thomas has a different experience, but from talking to some of my own students in BBS, I know that they sometimes get a flavor of different parts of the organization.
Yeah, I was in the marketing department, for example, but I did a lot of projects with the sales team and got to see different sides of sales, after sales, finance as well. We had to do presentations to the board of management. So they do move you around a bit, although you're in your department and that's your job for your 15 months or 12 months. You travel around and you see different aspects of the business and get an overview of it as well. So.
That's great. Thanks, Thomas. I think the answer is no to this question, but just to confirm, are you able to do a split Erasmus and Intra with Mint? I would imagine you have to do one or the other, but have you heard of anyone split it?
You have to do one or the other. Or I should point out, by the way, or neither in business studies at least. There are some students who opt to go straight through year 1, 2, 3 without the Intra or Erasmus experience. We'd advise people not to do that, but of course the options there. If people have constraints on their ability to spend 4 years in university, you can do it in 3.
Thank you, Rob. There's a question there, back to Thomas. In what way does science and technology come into Mint?
Yeah, so I did mention it's a Bachelor of Science, but so throughout your years, there's loads of different modules that you kind of touch on. So biotechnology, which is kind of stands out as one, and you learn about how pregnancy tests work, the fermentation of beer, a load of different things, but it's all based on less the science kind of element of it. You learn why how it happens and why it happens, but the industry of it and how that industry is moving and how you can market for that industry. So there was a really interesting project in that where we had to create our own hypothetical biotechnology company and pitch it back to the rest of our classmates, and they had to like sign off like Dragon's Den award funding to each of the teams and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to learn that kind of side of it. We have different modules looking at AI in society and the effects that's going to have, and that was one with Gary Sinclair, and that was a big, almost an argument, a constant argument of people's views and opinions and on AI and how technology is affecting society. You look at computers, the digital world, how technology has changed over the years. So it's really, there is that big technology element in Mint as well, where you learn a lot about how it's affecting society.
Fab, thank you, Thomas. It's great. There's a question about what colleges in North America can you do Erasmus in on the business studies course? Rob, you might be able to jump in.
Yeah, so it can change from year to year. At the moment, we have partnership with School of Management in Boston University and the Universidad de las Americas Puebla in Mexico. I don't know if I said that even remotely correctly, but a place in Mexico that's very good, and a place in the US in Boston, which is also very good.
Great.
And I know in Mint they have a partnership. I think it's with Illinois, a place in Illinois as an option there.
Brilliant, thank you. Someone's asked, for the intra year for business, can you choose to say specialize in a finance-based placement?
Yeah, I mean there are jobs with various types of finance and accounting outfits, and you can apply for them. And yeah, our students go off and do those. Not always happily, as I said. There's one guy who realized finance wasn't for him, but you can definitely go and take a swing at it.
Great to realize that though before you've signed a 3-year grad program deal somewhere though.
Absolutely.
Great, just as useful, as I said, to learn what you dislike as well as what you like. And someone asks, does the business course have marketing modules? And I believe it does.
It does indeed, yeah.
It does, and you can
marketing specialism.
Yeah, as well. That seems to be the questions for now. Feel free to pop them in. We have a very short video that I'll show you now, which is about the DCU Business School, so you can actually see it and what it's like in person. We do have a spring open day coming up on the 2nd of April. It's a Saturday from about 10 till 2, and you are welcome to visit our Glasnevin campus in particular, where the DCU Business School is. So I'm going to share my screen now. You'll have the opportunity to pop in some questions if you want to get anything in last minute, but enjoy the video. And I hope this was informative. I certainly think it was. So let me just get the video up. Should be good to go.
Welcome to DCU Business School, where the business leaders and innovators of tomorrow are made. The business school is AACSB accredited, an award earned by less than 5% of the world's business schools. Here, students study accounting and finance, global business with a choice of language, marketing, innovation and technology, Bachelor of Business Studies, and aviation management with pilot studies. But it's much more than that, as you'll get to meet new friends and make future connections with people in the world of business and marketing. The building has 3 floors with a selection of large lecture halls, classrooms, computer labs, boardrooms, an executive level for events, seminars and lunches, and its own restaurant on the 2nd floor. The ground floor foyer is a social space sponsored by Ernst & Young, where students can chat and catch up between breaks in class. This digital notice board displays useful information and our social media feeds. They often post about work opportunities and scholarships, which is really helpful. On the stairs to the 1st floor, we pass our industry wall, illustrating the caliber of companies we collaborate with through internships, research and other partnerships. The restaurant on the 2nd floor is a great meeting place for a chat or something more practical. Here, you'll often find groups of students discussing group projects over lunch or having one-to-one meetings over coffee. Thanks for joining us on this tour of DCU Business School. Now time to head outside and enjoy the rest of DCU campus.
So as I said, just a short video there about the DCU Business School that you'll be able to see in the flesh if you come to our open day on Saturday the 2nd. Just one quick question before we finish up. So I think this has kind of been covered already, but what universities, countries does Mint have connections to for Erasmus? There's a lot of countries in Europe, and I'll be able to send on a list to you, the person who asked those questions, and we can send you a list of the universities they're connected to as well. So I'll send that in the follow-up email. Thank you sincerely to our panelists today, Rob, Cindy and Thomas. Really great insights and a great resource for students to have now about the course. Any final words before we hang up for the evening?
Just best of luck with the next steps, and hopefully we see all of you in the business school come September.
See you then. Thank you very much, everyone. And any follow-up questions, you can send them to studenthelp@dcu.ie, and we'd be happy to send them on to the panelists. So thank you, everyone, and see you soon. Enjoy your evening. Slán.